Welcome to episode 135 of Retro Encounter, the RPG Fan Weekly podcast of many topics. I'm Mike Sollosi. I'm your host this week, as I've been in many weeks. I'm on a bit of a combo here that might be broken sometime soon. I don't know. Well, we'll see. But I'm here with three other people, and we're eager to talk about our game for this month, starting with Alana Hagues.
Hey everyone.
Also, Peter Triezenberg.
It's me, Mario.
No, it isn't. You're Peter Triezenberg. We've been over this, Peter.
It's me, Peter.
You can't prove anything. I have my rights.
Oh, boy.
Peter! I've baked a cake for you.
See, now you've all over.
Oh, no.
shadowed me.
Oh.
I didn't know him.
Yeah, okay, let's just get our Mario voices out of the way right now.
Oh, boy. But who is that? Who's that third person? Oh, it's Stephanie Sybydlo.
It's me, Staffio.
Well, if it weren't already obvious, we were talking about a specific Mario game today, and that is Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars for the Super Nintendo.
Just 7? There's been like a billion of these things, man.
That's true, and in every single Mario RPG, I think we mentioned this because we did a Mario RPGs episode last year that you were on with me, Peter. You're always collecting somewhere between 5 and 7 stars in these various games. Sometimes they're pieces of stars, sometimes they're actual stars. They usually have different colors. It's kind of a thing, and this is the one that started it.
How many pieces the Bean Star actually broke into, real quick, so I can double check your math.
I think it was 5 for the Bean Star Mario RPG. I think
it was 5.
Yeah. And
then but the Mario RPGs have a long history of stars breaking into pieces and then having to collect them.
And for this episode, we're going to divide our discussion of Mario RPG in two. So for this episode, we're only doing the first 4 stars in the game. We're stopping our story discussion after Star Hill. So we've collected the blue, green, orange, and violet stars, but not the indigo, yellow, or red stars yet. Yes, there are the 7 rainbow colors. Sorry for the spoiler. But
Straw.
That's a big one, man. Colors of those stars. Actually, you know what? As a Sentai fan, I feel that does work for you.
Oh, of course it does. God, are you talking? Are you kidding? I love it when things are divided into groups and have different corresponding colors. It's like my favorite thing. Oh my god!
As a former Sailor Moon enthusiast, I feel you.
Right?
I'm detecting some Sentai in the room right now.
Oh, you'll be detecting more Sentai in the room eventually, but we'll save that for another day. And also Toei did both Super Sentai and Sailor Moon, so they're really onto something there. With those, transforming multicolored heroes. Correct me if I'm wrong, Peter and Alana, this is your first full run-through of the game for both of you. Is that right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
okay.
Never touched it.
And Peter, this is your first time playing the game to completion as well, right?
Played the first bit of it a couple times, but never beaten it, so... Right,
okay. So I was excited to hear that, because I love, hearing... a mix of veteran and new perspectives when we do these games. But Stephanie, you have played Mario RPG before, right?
Yeah, I've beat it like 3 times.
Cool. Yeah, for me it's also about the 3rd time. I think I played this once on the SNES ages ago, once on the PC when I was emulating everything like a decade ago. And
I think we all had that phase. There was one summer where I was basically sucked in doing just that.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm playing this time on my SNES Mini or SNES Classic, or whatever you want to call it, and it's working very well when the save function works, and I don't accidentally lose an hour of progress.
Oh god, those SNES buttons are really... It's really hard to get used to them, because 2 buttons do the same thing, so like...
Yeah, and A erases your save file, and Y overwrites the save file, and they don't really give you a warning, so when I'm like, okay, load the save file, A to confirm, what, it's gone? No, that was a bad afternoon. I basically had to replay all of Moleville and Booster's Tower.
Wow.
Twice,
oh dear.
Which is
the longest stretch.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it's a long-ish stretch at least. But Alana, what's your early impressions on this game? Are you enjoying it so far?
Yeah, I mean, I went into it knowing that it would be funny, and I'm not dissatisfied as of yet. So, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's just cute and charming, and the thing is with Mario RPGs is they're always a little bit against the grain, so they're pretty simple, but they've always got their own kind of personality. So I've played a couple of the Super Mario RPG, the Mario and Luigi games, maybe 2 or 3. I've played both Paper Mario traditional RPGs, so the N64 one and Thousand Year Door. Thousand Year Door is fantastic, and I would recommend it to anybody.
You played the two good ones.
Yeah, I've played some of Super Paper Mario as well, but it was so weird that I had to stop and breathe every 5 minutes because that went places. Like, these games can get dark, but Super Mario RPG is like probably the kids' tame, nice version, and I'm really enjoying it. Like, I had a blast, to be honest. It was great so far, so I can't wait to dig in. And
one thing I think is funny is it kind of takes place before like official names seem to have set in. Like, they keep calling Peach Toadstool.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, when I'm playing it, it reminds me of watching the old cartoons, because I watched those growing up, and Peach was called Toadstool in those as well. And yeah, it's just really great. It's like playing a Saturday morning cartoon, and it's like, oh, these strange people have invaded Mario's world, and it's like, oh no, we've got to do something. And there's Yoshi occasionally, and Bowser's involved. But Bowser's called Bowser and not Koopa. That's the only thing that's broken the TV show thing. So
yeah, well, I mean, Bowser has always been Koopa-O or Koopa King or something in the Japanese games. So they, I think that Bowser is mostly a English language invention. But
I guess it's a bit more threatening sounding than Koopa to us.
Yeah. Maybe.
But Peter, what are your early impressions of Mario RPG before we get deep into the story?
As a lot of our listeners may know, Superstar Saga was a game I was really into. I'm literally awful in this chat right now. So playing it now, I agree with you guys that it kind of gives me vibes of the Saturday morning cartoon. It kind of has this episodic feel. In a way, it kind of reminds me of a good version of Mystic Quest, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. In that Square, like, they wanted to make a beginner RPG that was that would introduce players to the genre, and with the kind of the kid-friendly tone of this game, it kind of, I feel like it hits that more than anything else. It kind of feels like this is the game you would give to your small child because you want to introduce them to the wonderful world of Squaresoft RPGs.
It is a little easy. Like, by the end, I remember I was just kind of trying to run from battles or just not get into them.
Yeah, I think it's a couple boss fights might be tricky, but this is a fairly simple RPG. I don't think any of the dungeons last more than 15 or 20 minutes, except for maybe the very last one or something.
It's very bite-sized. Like, you can play it in short sessions and still get like a complete little segments done, like the forest area or the sewer area near the beginning.
Yeah, it's brisk. Like, the first time I sat down to play it, I had 2 stars before I could even think of what I was doing. It's so it's fast moving. It's very colorful. Doesn't really have many dark or mature themes, but I'm consistently having fun with all of it. The Saturday morning cartoon comparison is interesting. I hadn't really thought of that. But there's also some remarkable names attached to this game. It was, for many years, I think maybe it's changed by now, but it was the only game for a while that had Final Fantasy creator Sakaguchi and Mario creator Miyamoto attached to this same project, which is, interesting. And
also a milestone now. More so now.
Yeah, and also this is, I don't want to say early because she had been composing for over a decade by this, but this is a early-ish Yoko Shimomura soundtrack. It was she was, I think, an in-house composer with Capcom for many years, and then she started working on Square games and other games in the mid-90s, and she went on to make all of the.
She worked on with Capcom. I didn't know that.
She did more than half of Street Fighter 2, and
really?
Yeah, and
oh man,
and parts of Final Fight, and I think she was on a team that worked on one of the Breath of Fire games. I'm not sure. I'd have to Google that. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, she was with Capcom for a while before she seemed to have some kind of thing with Square. And then she went on to do Legend of Mana and Kingdom Hearts and the Mario and Luigi games. But she's
the rest is history.
Yeah, she's very beloved among RPG fan staff. That's for sure. But anyway,
I definitely recognize some of the music tracks playing Mario RPG. I think they did some remixes in later Mario and Luigi games.
They did, and Gino has a cameo in the first Mario and Luigi as a proctor for one of the mini games. But then they removed his cameo. Yeah.
Or rather, he did. R.I.P.
Yeah, they removed the cameo for the 3DS cover. Whoops. The 3DS remake of that game last year.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bummer.
Yeah.
Right, but regardless, this is a Miyamoto / Sakaguchi produced game with music by Yoko Shimomura, and that's a remarkable confluence of names. But let's get into the basic setting first. Mario RPG also uses a bunch of things like like some basic sound effects from Super Mario World, and even has a world that you traverse by, walking from little circle to circle connected by paths and dots, just like Super Mario World. What are there any other like Mario traditional things that you noticed or particularly appreciated in this game? I mean, Steph,
I think the game is off to a really good start by basically emulating the entire, fight that Mario usually has. It's just another day and Mario's off to go save Peach again. And like they're almost literally next door neighbors to each other, where he goes to his castle and rescues. And you even see like the lava pit that was, sort of made famous already. Before he reaches the end of the hall, and they have it out on the chandeliers.
Yeah, it's a pretty action-packed first 15 minutes or so. Even though it's one of the easiest Bowser battles I've ever encountered ever. But then it goes sour very quickly. After he's about to rescue Peach, a giant sword from the sky pierces Bowser's castle, sends Mario, Peach, or the princess, I should say, and Bowser flying, and then it's revealed that Mario's opponents for most of this game are going to be the Smithy Gang, which are mostly, anthropomorphized weapons, I guess. And
I guess it fits.
Oh my god, I didn't even realize that.
Really?
No. Some of them, I guess. Well, no, because it throws in the other ones, right? Like the big tiger thingy.
Yeah, there are some non-weapon enemies like like Croco is a crocodile, and
I'll confess, I never knew what the hell Mac was either. I
think Mac is supposed to be a knife, like Mac the Knife. Is
my
guess.
That's what I got.
But there's a giant bow that launches arrows from himself named Bowyer.
Bowyer.
And there's a giant spear character later that has the Japanese word for spear, yari, in his name. And there's some axe characters that are probably my favorite boss fight later in the game. But yeah, in general, these are weapon-themed enemies led by someone named Smithy. And you'll be fighting those for most of the game. But also, there's a lot of traditional Mario enemies. I mean, you're jumping on Goombas and Koopa Troopas basically right from the first stage. But Peter, this is there's one difference between this and the Mario and Luigi games that bothered me a little bit. When you jump on enemies, it doesn't deal damage to them.
That bothered me as well, and I tried. When I started the game, I would try to jump on enemies. It's like, nope, that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it's like the first thing I tried to do as well. It was like, oh wait, no damage, no advantage. But I was like, yeah.
That came with later Mario RPGs. So
they had
basically all of them, other than this one, do that.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't do any damage or get Oh well.
I made the pretense. It's also interesting that Mario's default attack is a punch, and like that the jump is a special move.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mario's punching in Mario 64, which I think came out around the same time as this game. I'm not positive.
96.
Are they both 96?
It would have been in development.
Right. So yeah, like this got ahead of the game with Mario punching, and generally Mario, like his suite of attacks is maybe the most Mario-like of all in this game, which is appropriate. I mean, because he has punches, hammers, jumps, fireballs, and kicks shells around. I'm trying to think of what's the weirdest thing Mario does? Maybe get tossed around by Bowser.
No, getting kissed by Booster.
Oh yeah.
If you finish the mini game fast enough, it's just Mario getting kissed by Peach, and if you finish it slow enough, Peach will avoid Mario and get kissed by Bowser and Booster, which is, a reward in its own.
I didn't do it that slow.
That's the true ending there, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like everybody's face at it too. It's just everyone's kind of like up in arms about it.
I love the facial expressions in this game. It's
a good physical comedy game, actually.
The surprised Mario face and the crying Bowser face.
Yeah.
And Gino's general lack of expressions.
I like his bow though. That kind of dip he does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I hadn't remembered when I went back to this game is when Mario and his friends pantomime events to explain things to people.
Yeah.
It is hilarious.
So good.
Or even seeing little Mario get tossed from the castle keep, just as a tiny little icon on the world map. He can get launched.
Yeah.
Yeah, surprised Mario's really great sprite look, and when they're explaining to the Chancellor what happened, you see Mario's Exor face when he makes the impression of the sword,
Yeah, he does have a face for that, right?
Yeah, he does a weird angry face while he's does a spear dive on Bowser. It's like there's a lot of very expressive character work and physical comedy in this game that I definitely experienced before, but didn't totally remember when for this playthrough. Because again, I haven't played this game in I think probably at least a decade, even though I did play it twice back in the day. So Alana, what are your thoughts on the first zone of the game when you're going through Mushroom Kingdom and you meet Krako and Mac? Was because again this is your first time. Were you sort of surprised at some of the tone, or is it something you particularly liked or noticed?
I mean the first area is just the Mushroom Kingdom, so I figured that things would start off in general. Oh, because it starts off with Mario in his house. On as a side note, I always like how this Mario RPGs are always the only Mario games where you get to see Mario's house and like he's got a mailbox all the time outside his house, and it's just a really nice characteristic thing that they've carried on. But
it's fun to explore the house too. Usually,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know whether I think it's cute or I think it's troubling that there's only one bed in there, and it's definitely the Mario Brothers house.
Definitely. One thing I love about this game as well is another side thing. The beds! You can bounce on the beds without jumping on them. It's so good. Like, because obviously being Mario, you have to jump everywhere because you're Mario. And,
even though, like, jumping is a special attack, I do like how everybody knows that, like, Mario is this prize jumper or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are several dialogue points, like Mario will have to jump to demonstrate his prowess, and it's always awesome.
Also, this game makes me really grateful for its combat style. I like that whole, like, Y for menu, Y to confirm. I think is a lot of fun.
I remember when I played Persona 5 for the first time, and you had the different actions governed by the 4 face buttons. I was reminded of this game, and it makes it's pretty elegantly presented because you can to cancel out of an action, you just press literally any other button other than that action's button. Like oh no, I didn't want to cast a spell. I'll just press any button besides Y.
Though it does occasionally trip me up though, just out of muscle memory for other games. But
yeah, exactly. Because you press like Y to use a special, and then you press A to use the special. Like no, that goes to attack. It's like
right.
It takes some getting used to, but I think it's at least well presented, and it's not an overbearing UI, which is something that is easy to get frustrated at nowadays when UI takes over 2/3 of the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And the font is like size 5.
Oh yeah, but yeah, the first bit of the game. So it starts off Mario as Toad comes to Mario's house, and Mario's like, "Oh no, I haven't got Peach," and Toad's like, "No, this can't be." And then Toad gets kidnapped by the Hammer Bros or one of the Hammer Bros, and you have to go and save him on the way to the Mushroom Kingdom. And you go and tell the Chancellor after that, oh, hang on, I haven't got Peach. And then the Chancellor's like, no, go and save her. And he's like, yep, I'll do my best, but there's no bridge. And then he gets embroiled with Mallow, who is the first party member you get.
Right.
His little medal
He's
gets
the frog
kidnapped.
man.
I will be honest, like, I just looked at him, I was like, oh, it's a cloud. And he goes, oh, I'm a tadpole. I'm like, wait, is there something I've missed in Mario games? Because I'm sure there are frogs in other Mario games. Luckily, I was fine.
I think that whole sequence is so much better because of the musical cues around it.
Yeah.
And
Frog Fuchsius, like it's so
Frog
ridiculous.
They go into the tragic music when Mallow receives the shocking revelation that he is not a frog, and we haven't mentioned Mallow prior to 15 seconds ago. So I think he's probably the most forgettable of the 5 party members. But he's a good buddy to have around early, and he's still funny, and he's a distinct color and silhouette. I don't dislike Mallow, but he's no Gino.
I do like how they divided up the party though, like between the new cast and an old cast, and I mean people still want to see Gino in Smash Brothers.
Yeah, compared to the newer games in this, like in Mario RPGs, Super Mario RPG might have like the most original characters out of any of them, because that steadily goes down. The further you get in, they eventually stop doing OCs pretty much entirely.
Well, yeah, exactly, because this has got Gino, who's a doll, and we'll get to in the next section, and then you've got, Gino's actually from somewhere else, and then you've got Mallow, who's a cloud.
Yeah, Gino's real name is pronounced Heart Musical Note Interrobang, which is, but then they simplified it down to Gino. I love Mallow and Gino, but I'm focusing on Mallow a little bit. Pretty obvious Chekhov's gun. You will learn more about Mallow in the second half of the game. but he's fun to have around. He has weather powers, he has a healing spell, and but mostly because he's not a great attacker, I replaced him with Geno or Bowser pretty quickly.
Yeah, we're going back to physical comedy. I do like the way that when you first meet him and the medal's been stolen, he starts crying and then it starts raining. And that's where you go, you said you were a frog, though. And then it's just kind of thing. But I like the way they utilize that, at least. It is a shame, because Mallow does have a little bit of time, like right up until you get to Tadpole, or Frog Kingdom, whatever it's called, Tadpole Pond. And he does have a kind of time to shine, but as soon as Geno and Bowser starts popping up, he kind of just gets overshadowed, because Geno is like your stoic RPG hero who's like, it's my destiny to save the 7 stars and rebuild the Star Bridge, and then Bowser's just funny. But
I don't think Geno's over serious, but he's a little bit more stoic than the other characters.
Straight, maybe straight is a better word for it, but. Yeah, but Croco I thought was Yoshi at first with teeth. I was like,
isn't that what it's supposed to be, basically?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
the sprite thing. Yeah. And I thought, because I was going to save Peach, I thought, we're going to go off with Mallow and go back to Bowser's Kingdom and maybe figure something out. But then nope, this whole escapade of going to get this medal. It's a nice way of introducing everything, because you know that it's going to be fast and you know it's going to be fun, breezy, and everything, and it kind of teaches you everything you need to know without. Even though you get tutorials without being told necessarily, but it's a nice way to ease you in, and I think it starts you off comfortably, and then you start going to places like that people aren't familiar with. Like, you don't go to Donut Plains or Choco Mountain or anything like that.
Yeah, pretty much its only Mushroom Kingdom is the setting that is comfortably within the Mario universe. And Peter, I think you and I and John Tucker also talked about the various weird settings that Mario visits in the different Mario games, because every Mario RPG basically is a new setting with crazy interpretations of normal Mario things.
Right, yeah, pretty much.
Because this is pretty much, I'm pretty sure this is the only Mario game with a village of happy mining mole people.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. It's something they leaned off of later on again, like same with the original characters, but like Mario RPG, like it's not even like they don't even have the excuse of like, oh, it's a different kingdom, like Bean Kingdom or something. Nope, it is just straight up, this is the Mushroom Kingdom, and now there's a town of sentient mole people and a talking wedding cake, and deal with it.
Right, so Mario gets the first star at the end of Mushroom Kingdom when it's taken out over by bouncy, springy dudes led by a possible spring named Mac, and he doesn't really he dramatically grabs this spinning star that floats out of the air, but doesn't really know what it's for, at least yet. But in the second zone, when you're saving the residents of Rose Town from an evil Bow named Bowyer, Geno joins the team and explains exactly what's going on. And okay, guys, tell me you didn't turn into a 7-year-old child again when you saw the kid in the Rosetown Hotel playing with action figures.
Oh,
that was sweet. Yeah, it reminded me of the end scene from Last Jedi. Actually, it
was quite cool. Yeah, from I've obviously seen Geno before playing Super Mario RPG, so when I saw the doll, I thought, why has Geno got a doll? And I like the way that the kid is like, he looks at Mario as he comes into the house, and he's playing with his Mario doll, and he spots him, and he's like, oh my god. And then he's like, no, Mario, you need to play as... Did he play as Bowser, or does he... Yeah, he plays as Bowser.
Yeah, he plays as Bowser, and the kid plays as Geno. And
yeah.
I wonder how many Mario dolls are around this world, because Booster also has a Mario doll. And maybe Mario is a well-known enough figure to have his own action figure line in this universe. But when Mario is knocked out from playing with the action figures with the kid and takes a nap, I think there's some fun low-key shade thrown around when the 4 dolls are put away and a star comes down from the sky and hovers over each of the dolls and decides that the Geno one looks the strongest. That's a little bit rude to Bowser and Mario, and maybe Princess as well.
He says to him, doesn't he? He says, oh, I picked this doll because I thought it was the strongest one. It's like, okay. But yeah, it was cool seeing that, because I didn't realize that Geno was a doll. I mean, I assumed, but I just thought maybe he was a sentient doll, not magical star person.
And if you look at the art of Geno and not just his sprite, you can tell he's supposed to be some kind of a wooden doll. He almost has a bit of a Pinocchio wooden jointed look to him. And maybe
For
this
how
is
cool the character is, it's a weird design.
I remember when I played this for the first time in the 90s. I thought that the red things coming off of his hat were his nose, and he had a giant red nose, and his eyes were turned up. But that's not the case at all. He just has some red things poking out of his hat. Again, I was maybe 12.
It happens.
But yeah, Gino's awesome. I really like his look and style. Is he fires his fists and things out of his gun, and even turns into a cannon for one spell. He's a really fun design, and he's pretty powerful. I think his attack power is higher than Mario's, but his weapons don't raise his attack as much. So he's
the only one capable of a 999 attack.
Yeah, that's right. If you time Gino World perfectly. But
I have never done it, actually.
I did it once, and it was against we haven't gotten there yet. But there's an area where where you fight some shark minions, and against one of the shark minions, I was able to pull it off. But I think there's only a couple places in the game it'll work, and one of them is one late boss battle. But we won't get into that. Yeah, Gino's a really cool design. Before you meet him, you have to go through the woods outside of Rosetown and follow him through the woods to locate the bow monster Bowyer. And I love the woods music. That is maybe my favorite track in the whole game.
It's famous. It's really famous.
It's basically famous for it.
I think it's perfect bopping music, isn't it? Like, there's no other piece of music I've heard that I just like bop along to like that. I mean, it's perfect jumping music.
I think that piece was actually remixed on either Dramatica or Memoria.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful effect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My second favorite piece is probably the main. There's two boss themes. And I like the second one for star enemies, for star piece bosses.
Smithy bosses, yeah.
I have very few bad things to say about that entire soundtrack.
It's a good soundtrack. I mean, Shimomura is great, and this is a really good entry into her catalog. There's a lot of good stuff here.
It's very. There's so many different styles going on. That's crazy.
And each town has their own theme. That is basically a fun bop, I guess.
Yeah.
There's 7 towns in the game, basically corresponding to the 7 stars. Maybe not 100%,
Mm-hmm.
but they all have a really cute vibe around them and feel unique, which is not always the case for RPG towns.
It's basically a perfect resume for her work in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, it's got to get that tone going for it.
Fluffy, cartoony feel to it.
Yeah.
I like when you do the minecart level and that music kicked in. I'm like, this was in Mario Kart.
Yeah, I thought that as well. That's great.
That's actually hilarious.
Yeah, I don't feel it never feels like a ripoff, but they do appropriate music from other Mario games quite often. And also, I don't know if the sound effects were made for this game or if they take some from Mario World, because you have the Mario jumping sounds and the coin sounds. And like you hear the do every time you land a late super jump. If you get a combo of super jumps that's 5 or more, you get the you get very Mario sounding sounds for all the sound effects. Did you guys notice anything about the sound effects? Because I think the sound design in this game is great in general.
Nothing in particular other than you've said, but
no, I like a lot of the clicking. I like a lot of the clicking noises, like when you're playing that stupid game. There's so many mini games in this game. First off,
there's a lot. Yes, there are.
And collecting frog coins is wonderfully infuriating.
Yeah, and the frog coins have a deeper like coin jingle than the regular coins when you grab one.
I don't know why. I like a lot of the clicking sound effects in the menu.
There's something really satisfactory, isn't there, about a really good click in a menu, and like immediately when you go into the menus, it just made me smile. It felt familiar, and most of the sound effects are really familiar. Like you were saying about the super jump and timing those perfectly. That's the noise that you get in Super Mario World, isn't it? When you do like the mini game where you get like you have to hit the block and you have to stop, see whether you get a star and then a flower, and when they all line up in like. There's 8 boxes surrounding one central box, and they all have to match like noughts and crosses and stuff.
Yeah,
it's that noise. So when you hit those boxes, and it goes doo-doo-doo-doo, I'm just like, oh, it's great. It's so good.
And also, I mean, Steph was mentioning that this game has a lot of mini games, and we've mentioned this on other podcasts before. But a lot of every attack and every spell in this game is basically its own mini game to get your timed button presses to get that critical hit, and a lot of the sound design taps into that, like. Most of the time, the timed hit involves hitting the A or Y button at the appropriate like at the appropriate sound effect or point in the attack. Like you get that really satisfying shell kick sound right when the and you press A right when the knock knock shell hits Mario's foot. Or in all of Mario's jump attacks, you gotta press Y right when he's hitting the enemy to get that, to get the critical hit on the jump. And my personal favorite might be the really brilliant like sound every time one of Bowser's claw attacks hits.
Oh yeah,
I love that.
It's a juicy claw effect, and I always try to listen to sound design in games, and Square was really good at a lot of them for their old RPGs. I mean, especially Super Mario RPG and Chrono Trigger, I guess. But there's just really good sound design that ties into the mini games and the combat that I really love about Mario RPG.
They even work in the Final Fantasy Victory theme at one point. It's adorable.
They do. There's a very explicit Final Fantasy sound reference in the second half of the game that we will talk about in the second episode. But I guess staying to the story a little bit, we brought up Moleville. That's right after Bowyer and the Green Star. Those are cute moles. They're nice, friendly mole people.
Are they Monty moles though?
Oh, maybe I don't know because like their upper torso sort of looks like it, but I mean Monty moles don't wear clothes.
No, exactly. I was really disappointed. I was expecting to come into the village of Monty moles, and then when I didn't, I was like, no, I don't want to be here anymore.
I was going to say, is this where Mr. Rossetti is from?
Oh, maybe. Well, they're too happy.
Maybe that's why he doesn't live there anymore. He was cast out.
They're a little bit more fully featured than Diglets, so I'm pretty sure this is not a Pokemon crossover.
This is before Pokemon as well, or just after, actually. About the same time. But...
same time as the Japanese version, before it came worldwide. But, yeah, Moleville, you go into a mine to rescue some mole kids that were locked in there, and also find a star and a clown named Punchinello. And it's also the second Croco appearance. Croco does show up periodically in the game. The first time I played this, minor spoiler, Croco is a vendor at the very end of the game. He sells you a few things, and one of my friends that had already beaten the game told me, Croco becomes a good guy. So I interpreted that as Croco joins your party eventually. And so
good.
So I ran into Croc. I keep running into Croc. I was like, man, you asshole, come on, join me. Like, you're supposed to be a bad guy turned into a good guy, like Bowser, right? And it never happened. So
he's just he becomes useful. That doesn't make him a good guy.
Right.
He's kind of a reverse. He's kind of like Popple the Shadow Thief. I think they recycled that idea again in Superstar Saga.
Oh man,
I'm gonna keep coming back to that one.
You see Croco a couple times, and the mining area is the second Croco boss fight. But how weird is Punchinello the Clown? I'm still not sure if he's in the Smithy gang or if he's just a weirdo clown that likes explosions.
I don't think he is. I don't think he is from reading the wiki beforehand. I think all of the Smithy gang are at least mostly metallic or mostly made out of... Well, it can be smithed, basically, but Punchinello is just fists, not like specifically a weapon or anything like that.
We got to go deep in the lore here.
Yeah, I know. We have really. Punchinello is a good boss, though. I quite like Punchinello as a boss.
And when you fight Mac and Bowyer, after you defeat them, one of their minions goes, "Oh no, I better tell the rest of the Smithy gang," and they sneak out of there. It's one of the springy guys and one of the arrows. But there's nothing like that for Punchinello. I think he's just a clown that likes bombs and is a bit of an attention seeker.
Yeah,
I don't think he's forged by the Smithy gang necessarily.
Yeah, but I do like the way that it's just, the boss fight is just waves of him throwing little bombs, and obviously this is where Mallow comes into use because you can just use Thunderstorm and plow your way through it pretty much. But I do like the satisfaction of the bombs gradually getting bigger as he gets more annoyed at you and eventually being kind of like taking his own medicine and being squashed by a giant bomb, which is pretty good, and then it blows up. I like the way that none of the characters shook off all this either, which is normally a RPG thing that they do.
Yeah, there's fun escalation to that boss fight, and it ends in a bit of a comedy moment, which is nice. I think a lot of the boss fights in this game are really well designed, and they're also the only time where you'll ever feel challenged. A couple of the boss fights get tricky here, and there's a couple boss fights I definitely want to talk about in the second half of the game. But for now, I think Moleville is a bit of a brief stop in this game. It doesn't. Mario RPG doesn't always follow the Dungeon Town pattern exactly, And because Moleville, I mean, you can do the entire Moleville thing in about 45 minutes, maybe.
Did anyone else find the minecart game really irritating? Like,
I think it went on too long.
Yeah, it's too long, and then it's really fiddly, because if you speed up, then you have to hold down, like, the D-pad to turn, so it's...
There's a lot of mini games. I'm not sure all of them are winners, though.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
The one where you're jumping barrels was really obnoxious, because you don't really know which side the coins are going to be on.
I don't mind that one too much, because at least... none of them have got, like, an end goal, but I quite like that one, because at least you could get flowers.
They're nice pastimes. Like, it's a good way to kind of divide up the gameplay from the usual, so even if I don't like the minigames all that much, I do think they're a fun and dumb break.
Yeah,
exactly.
Usually they come with prizes.
There's one minigame in the second half of the game that yields one of the best accessories if you finish it in, I think, it's either under 12 seconds or under 15 seconds. And it's one where you gotta go up a cliff.
Oh, right, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's... I know I'm already going to lose an hour to try and get that accessory because it's really good. It increases your attack and special attack by 50% and gives you a small speed boost. Yeah, the mini games in this game are a bit of a mixed bag. They're not always fun or welcome, but at least they consistently keep introducing new ones. I actually really liked the one in Booster's Tower where you the snivets are opening the curtains.
I love that. I love that whole sequence.
Mm-hmm. If you don't do it in time, you have to fight a boss fight against Booster and the three Sniffets, and I think you get the item that he normally gives you as a prize in that boss fight instead.
Oh,
that Booster music is so good too. I love how it goes between like casual hotel lobby to Booster's stupid theme.
Oh yeah. I love the dumb Booster theme. But we should just talk about Booster's Tower in general.
We did Booster's theme on an old Rhythm episode, I think. Actually.
We did?
Yeah, with Kate. Yeah, it was one of Caitlin's picks.
All right. Oh, we got to pour one out for Rhythm Encounter, everybody.
All right. Moment of silence. Moments pass.
Okay.
Cool.
But yeah, Booster's a weirdo, and you need Bowser's help to get into Booster Tower, and this is,
There's nothing quite like a frenemy chapter, where your greatest enemy becomes the next hero. So I love finally having Bowser on your team.
And I love that Bowser is sort of anxiety-ridden and goofy.
Yeah, like he's so insecure about the presence of a new villain, and he's like freaking out that this guy's muscling in on his territory, and then he's like reminiscing about the good old days when he and Mario would he would kidnap Peach and Mario would come save her, and he's like, it's kind of great actually.
Bowser is a really fun character in this game, and again, his moves are kind of brutal because he'll summon stalagmites, and he'll just straight up toss Mario at people, and his claws have brutal sound effects. But I also like he's sort of sensitive and cares about his Koopa Troop people, because there's points later in the game where he'll meet former members of his troop, and they're all like, "Boss, it's you! I'm glad you're all right, boss." And did you guys get the chomp in Booster's Tower?
Yeah, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Is it sort of funny? It's like he treats it almost like a dog that's chained up and kind of angry, and then he gets it to calm down. But Mario has to turn away because the chomp is sensitive.
I love that. It's so cute.
That is a cute bit, yeah.
Bowser's probably my favorite character to use in this game. It's like Bowser and Geno are by far my two favorites, but I think Bowser has good characterization in general.
In general, Bowser's characterization in the spin-off games is always really kind of fun to see. Like they play around with that a lot. Yeah,
he's a bit of a straight-up normal villain in the first Paper Mario, but it's still an over-the-top, funny, good version of villain Bowser. But in all
it's fun to have Peach's segments in that to kind of play off of it.
Oh yeah,
so.
no, I love the Peach segments in both Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door. They're like, oh my god, I can't believe they made me feel so strongly about a computer AI in Thousand Year Door.
That's so confusing, isn't it? That whole Thousand Year Door goes places, definitely.
It really does. Like a lot of them are we mentioned this again in our episode from last year, but Mario is secretly one of the best RPG series because they're all they're all in the 8, 9, 10 quality range, and I mean, has there ever been a real dud? I haven't played the last couple Mario and Luigi's.
The Paper Mario series is a bit more downhill now. So
I'd say Sticker Star and Color Splash.
I haven't played those,
but I think even generally the Mario and Luigi games have generally been considered the peak was 1 and 3, and they're the only two that have been remade. Well, 3 Bowser's Inside Stories being remade for 3DS for next year, and most people consider the rest okay. Maybe I know the second. Yeah, I mean, they're the only.
But it's still remarkable that basically a spin-off series has been just so consistently good over the past 20 years or so. And I love the first two Paper Marios and Mario RPG and most of the Mario and Luigi games. But so I guess I'm biased. But we did a whole episode about them. If listeners, if you want to listen to a discussion, I don't remember the episode number, but I think it's called Mario and RPGs, is the episode title. But back to Booster's Tower. How about that weirdo Booster?
What is wrong with his facial hair?
What's wrong with his facial expressions? He only has like open grin and giant open mouth.
He's like a character from a completely different series, like some kind of like a Viking or something. Like just kind of pops in the Mario universe, and he's just this big hairy douchebag who was like gonna force Peach to marry him.
Now, do not interpret this as me, defending Booster, but I don't think he understands what marriage is.
I don't think he understands anything.
No.
That's about right.
He's just a weirdo who likes toys, but does not really know how to interact with others. He is, I don't know, Booster has some issues, I guess, but he's definitely not one of Mario's friends. He should know better. He should know that kidnapping is wrong.
My favorite part
matters to anybody in the Mario verse. They all seem pretty.
Remember when he tastes Peach's tears and is like salty.
Oh, that was so strange.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that's not cool.
Something you interpret differently as an adult, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
I did enjoy his strategy for eating that giant cake, though.
Oh yeah, that was a great fight. Actually, I love.
I love how everyone's like, "Wait, did the cake move?" It's kind of gross, but
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And even Booster says that. Wait, guys, I think the cake just moved. They're like, no, don't pay attention to that, Booster. You can do this. At least his snippet buddies are encouraging, which is better than it could be.
Even if they are like terrible wingmen.
Dreadful. I mean, they do manage to punt a cake into his mouth, so.
Okay, so they have something going for them, I suppose.
Exactly.
But after you thwart the marriage between Booster and the princess, and possibly get kisses will happen between various characters depending on how quickly you found the items in that little mini game. After that, Peach joins the party. She's mostly called Princess in this game, and they hadn't really started calling her Peach yet, but we're all probably going to call her Peach because we've been calling her Peach for 22 years. So, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably already
supported that.
It's already happened in this episode a couple times, I think. By at least I've done it. But when she joins the party, and I think this is the first time that both Bowser or Peach sort of is controllable by the player, and they're both really good.
Yeah. I kind of love their banter, like when Peach when she's like, just let him keep talking about Bowser.
And how she's sort of a princess who's used to being rescued all the time, and definitely likes and appreciates Mario. But she's done being rescued. She's like, okay, I'm gonna float down here with my parasol, and now I'm gonna help with some of the rescuing.
That was great. I was like, yeah, go girl, go.
I mean, sometimes I'm annoyed if any character, whether it's male or female, is just an object to be rescued. It's like I mean, there's the phrase "damsel in distress," of course, but.
They sort of make her own it by just using frying pans to kick some ass.
Oh yeah, she's beating people with giant slap gloves and frying pans and parasols.
Yeah.
And her final spell is, I think she gets a bomb out of her purse or something.
Yeah, she does a whole bunch of bombs.
Yeah,
so it's
she's your best healing character, and I don't think this is one of my favorite portrayals of her. I think that it's more empowering and fun than the entirety of the Super Princess Peach DS game.
Oh, that was so bad.
That game's not very good. It is.
No,
but this is a great version of Princess Peach. I guess it's Smash Brothers Melee is the first one that she's in. I wanted more Mario RPG stuff in this version of her. I wanted the slap glove and the psych bombs, but we didn't get them, unfortunately.
No, that's a shame.
So right after Mary Moore, when Peach joins, that's all 5 playable characters in the game, and it's a pretty forgiving character system. You have 2 healers and magic users, 2 sort of different kinds of attackers, and then Mario, who has his stats near the middle of the pack, but has the best equipment for boosting those stats. We've gone over all of them a little bit, but I want to go around the table a little bit. Who is our favorite, and briefly why? Starting with you, Peter. Do you have a favorite character so far?
Yeah, Bowser.
Okay.
Boozer. Bowser's my boy. He always has been. Even in Smash, like he's not like the best character in that game, but I usually play as him anyway because dive bombing off the side of the stage is fun.
I know people like you.
Mm-hmm. Donkey Kong and Bowser players, or even Kirby players that do that. Yeah, come on. That's
Donkey Kong is the downbeat to win character.
Alana, do you have a favorite character in the game so far?
I think it's a tie between Bowser and Geno. I want to know more about Geno. Bowser is definitely hitting all my expectations perfectly because I expected him to be this essentially a dork who's like, I'm so insecure, I don't know what to do, I want my castle back, I want all this, but Mario, please, I want it to be back to normal again. But Geno has got something that's very, very kind of simple Square Enix in him, but also like he's got that cutesy charm of being like Pinocchio, and
it's like 60% Nintendo, 40% Square in that thing. And
definitely.
It works. He's cool.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see where he goes, definitely. So I think they're gonna carry the rest of the game for me. Not that the game needs carrying, but they're definitely where my
So, Steph, do you have a favorite character in the game of the 5 playable ones?
I was gonna say Boshi.
Oh,
Boshi.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I love Boshi.
Bad Yoshi, and his Japanese name is Washi to fit with the Wario Waluigi thing because the word for Japanese and bad is I think Warui.
Justice for Boshi. Bring him back.
Boshi is like the progenitor for the Yoshi in Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, who's in the wrestling section, isn't he?
Oh, I think
you're
you're right.
So little of Mario RPGs kind of like referenced back in the other series.
God, I love the baby Yoshi in Thousand-Year Door. He's an underrated kid. Yeah,
he's my favorite character. I always use him in his little orange shorts.
God, so and when you boost his attack, he deals so much damage with his multi-hit stuff.
Yeah, really.
He's great. In Thousand-Year Door, it's either him or Vivian the Shadow Witch.
She's great.
Those are the cool ones in that game. Back to Mario RPG. So is that what we're going with, Boshi, Steph?
Yeah, I'm going Boshi.
All right, Boshi's cool.
I actually like the entire cast, and I always get like really torn between like picking the newbies and picking the kind of OG squad.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like we've already talked about physical comedy. There's not like tons of dialogue in this game. You don't need to build up Bowser and Mario and Peach, and even the like drips that you get for Geno and Mallow. I don't have enough for Mallow yet, but they feel like enough.
My favorite thing about Mallow is that his armor is pants.
Yeah.
I like
the pants, cape, shell, dress.
It's so nice and simple. And like I liked some of the old CG pictures that they had of this stuff too. Like they had a flaming shell for Bowser. Actually looked pretty badass.
Yeah, I think one of his armor pieces laid in the game is the flame shell, and but in some of the art, in an art book or maybe some manual art for this game, they show like more stylized versions of some weapons and armor that your characters equip, and the flame shell looks awesome.
And like I have to say, it's also really fun to track Bowser as he was expelled from his kingdom and taking his like weird little cavalry throughout the land. Oh, yeah, and like they usually run into misadventures in the meanwhile, and I just thought that was a whole fun chapter too. It's cool to see how like the entire story kind of builds up.
Yeah, there's foreshadowing and a build through the whole story, and it's just a well-designed RPG, and it's done by Square when they were at or near the top of their game. And I mean, I think I mentioned this earlier before. But back to the characters thing, I love this version of Bowser, and Geno is probably my favorite new character. But I think this is a really good version of Mario because he's a silent protagonist with all of the strengths and weaknesses of that. But he has like, he's a classic design. He has sort of a smiling expression. He's likable, and his attacks and spells in the game are both fit into what Mario has always done in Mario games, but are really just fun interpretations of those. And one of the things that I think this game does great for all 5 of its characters is that we've been mentioning it throughout the whole episode, but their spells and weapons and attacks sort of help their personality a little bit.
Mm.
And even there isn't a ton of expository dialogue. Like this is not a game where you're going to be reading for ages or watching cutscenes, long cutscenes. But I think all 5 characters have their personality presented really well, both in action and in dialogue. And that's one thing that I definitely did not think about when I was playing this game at age 11 or 12. But
it's really good design, and
right?
Definitely Square Enix has their thumb totally all over that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is like the first Mario game where Mario's really got character outside of, like, obviously the terrible, like, typing games and teaching games and things like that came out around the same time, gave him a voice in that. But this is the first time that we're not just Mario jumping around and running and trying to get kiss off of Peach. I mean, he does all that, but he does, like you've described, the pantomime scenes and, like, where the kids will go, oh my god, it's Mario. Are you the real Mario? And then you have to jump, and then it feels so real. And it's like, it's the first time that you really get this sense of what Mario is about to become. And
it's kind of cool to see the Mario perspective through a different developer, I guess. And it really turned out really good. It was the best parts of what Square Enix knows about making RPGs, and it has got that Mario flair, like, beautifully all over it.
Yeah, Mario. I mean, Mario has a heroic personality, and I would say is sort of a positive person. But it's cool that they made him he has more of a personality in this game than in any Mario game previous at least that I can think of.
Yeah.
It's not quite as good though, Peter, as having a dedicated stash stat. That's the one thing.
Yeah, that is one thing that's missing from Mario RPGs. We need more mustache love.
Yes, a little bit more mustache attention. Whether it was I don't know, maybe he needs a mustache comb accessory that just improves all of his stats or something. I don't know.
We also need more Luigi. More Luigi is missing.
Luigi is missing. Take that, Mario.
That'd be the sequel to Mario is missing that
nobody asked.
But Luigi does make an appearance in this game, but it's so brief that you're gonna feel offended by it.
Yeah.
And later in the game, oh shoot, I don't want to go into this too deeply, but Mario becomes the most overpowered character by far.
Mario?
There's a special accessory and a special armor that only he can equip. But to do them, you have to get 30 jumps in a row on a super jump or ultra jump attack.
Oh no, I'm so close.
And there's a character that will keep count of your highest number of jumps that you've done, and then reward you with those 2 items. But it's 30 for the accessory and 100 for the armor. So
oh god, I'm gonna go for the accessory. I'm definitely on 25.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm gonna go for the accessory. I'm probably not gonna go for the armor.
Right, so I have not got I mentioned that I'm gonna try and get the good accessory from that cliff mini game later on, but I can't do the super jumps. I think my all-time record is about 20.
Square Enix over here, like you want 100% complete our game? Good luck.
And also this is for Alana and Peter. There are 2 things I want you guys to experience that are sort of hidden. Later in the game, if you find an item called a seed and an item called fertilizer, go back to Rose Town, and then you can exchange those for some really good items. And also later in the game, when you're around around star number 6 range, go to Moleville, buy some dynamite from one of the moles selling dynamite, then trade it for a shiny stone that another person wants dynamite for, and then go to the second to last town and use that to open a door. But don't try to fight the boss behind that door until you're around the 6-star range.
I think I know what you're talking about.
You got it. Yeah,
it's pretty famous. It's pretty.
Okay, all right. I figured that, but I want to talk about those things in the second episode, so I'm telling you officially here about those things without you having to resort to an FAQ.
All right.
I'm aware. Cool.
Right. Very cool. Very cool. So, the one last thing we want to talk about before we close up shop, and that is Star Hill, the 5-minute dungeon without a boss that you get a star piece at anyway. Hooray!
Yeah. What a. I don't want to say letdown, but
right.
I mean, it's visually lovely. It sounds gorgeous, and I really love the design of it. I love there's little stars dotted around, and they've got smiley faces, and so they've all got wishes. My favorite one, I don't know if this is the Luigi reference you're after, but where you click on one of them.
It's not, but I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, so it's like, I want to be as strong as Mario or my big brother or something like that, which is great. But there's a couple for Mallow, and there's one of the stars is Mallow's parents, because they say, we just want to see our son again, and then Mallow's like, he nearly cries again. It's like, I think that's quite dangerous in Star Hill, so I'm glad he didn't. I'm not sure if that's in the world or half in the sky. It looks like it's in the world, but kind of otherworldly, I guess. But yeah, it's I was expecting another boss, because for the star piece to just be sitting there ready for you, it was like, oh, okay. I mean,
yeah, like I love the concept of Star Hill, and it ties into the thing like this is where the wishes of people go, and then the Star Road turns them into shooting stars, and then people's wishes come true. And we need to repair the Star Road with star pieces so that people's wishes can come true again. There's the Saturday morning cartoon overarching plot of this game. But and Star Hill's cute, and the music's good, and it has this sort of alien feel to it, almost like you're on the surface of the moon or something. That's all really good, but the whole thing is 5 or 10 minutes, and there's no boss at the end. So it's like, really? This is just a shrug of a dungeon.
I appreciate the dinosaur bone monster, and also the otters, or like the mole type things there as well. Like, there's some diverse creatures.
I thought of them as like burrowing ferrets or stoats or something.
Yeah, that's the word I'm thinking of. It's completely different, Alana.
Well, no, they're related. Those are all mustelids, I think.
Cool.
But okay, I think we've basically covered the first half of the game. In the second half, we'll talk about Seaside Town and Volcano and Bowser's Castle and all those good things.
Like Grumble Volcano?
No, it's I don't think it's a previously encountered volcano, but my favorite boss fight in the entire game is at the top of that volcano. So please look forward to that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You know what it is. You may have heard of this too, Peter, but it's an excellent boss fight where you get the 6th star of the game. So I think we're about done talking about Super Mario RPG. It has been such a not really a revelation, because I've always liked this game, but it has been so fun rediscovering the best parts of this game with, the context of being in my early 30s and not a preteen. And I think right after we're done talking, I might go back to my SNES Classic and continue, because I've just had such a blast. But thank you so much for joining me on this podcast, guys. I'm looking forward to getting back with you to talk about the second half of the game in about 2 weeks. But speaking of the future of Retro Encounter, next week we're having a sequel to our 2016 Confessions episode. Alana, you were on that episode with me, where we
I was.
Yeah, where we confess to our RPG shames, and I have 2 other RPG fan staff members that have never been to a confession before, so I'm going to get real weird and Catholic on that episode. That's next week.
Particular.
And
phrasing.
Tell me your sins,
oh my.
child.
Well, and Peter, you're going to be hosting another episode later this month. That's another sequel to a 2017 episode that we did. Is that right?
Yeah, we're going to be doing Darksiders 2. We're reuniting. We're bringing the band back together. We're getting Keegan and Marcos, and we're gonna talk shop about Death's adventure to redeem his brother War. So it'll be fun. Please look forward to it.
Together. We're on a mission from Gad. So yeah, we have a confessional episode and a Darksiders 2 episode in our future. We haven't totally decided all of our plans for June yet, but hopefully next week I'll know a little bit more. I'm not sure yet. But listeners, if you want to reach us directly, the best way to do so is to email retro@rpgfan.com. Also visit rpgfan.com proper, and you'll see links to the RPG Fan message boards, our Facebook page, our Instagram page, which Steph has been very active on recently, our Discord, which a lot of people have been active on recently. The Discord's more poppin' than our forums are nowadays, and RPG Fan's Twitch page, where we have people streaming games at least 5 nights a week. I'm not sure. If you want to see what the Twitch schedule looks like, go to that page on rpgfan.com, because we're recording this early enough in advance that if I were to check it now, it would probably be outdated for you, the listener. And please review us on iTunes. Wow, okay. Is that an Apple thing that I wasn't aware of?
It's New Super Mario RPG Town.
Just give it time.
Sure. Yeah, I think iTowns are probably.
I'm pretty sure there's a Black Mirror episode about that.
Yeah,
is that not like you're not talking about Balam Garden? Is that what we're going to end up with? And just Apple's going to be running Balam Garden?
It's going to be iTowns and Google Cities, and all of it is going to be run by Amazon infrastructure. That's it.
Sounds right.
Those are the.
Oh, goody. Yeah. On safe, secure servers operated by Sony.
Mm-hmm. And all of our social interaction is determined by Facebook, the safest company of them all. But
thanks, President Zuckerberg.
But listeners, review us on iTunes, Google Play, or however you're listening to us. If you can review us or rate us, please do so. We prefer 5 stars, but we'll take whatever we can get. And we respond to basically any message or email that is sent to us. But now enough about the podcast. Oh, you know what? I think we also have. There's another podcast on RPG Fan. Random Encounter, which is on a separate podcast feed from this one, is moving to a bi-weekly format hosted by Derek Heemsbergen, and he's been doing a killer job with it. So please also subscribe to that feed and listen to Derek talk about more current games than Retro Encounter.
Yeah, give him some love. He deserves it.
Oh,
He does.
We love Derek. Derek's the best. But that's enough about Derek. Let's talk about ourselves again. Starting with you, Alana, where can listeners get in touch with you?
So best place is probably Twitter. I'm pretty active on there. I'm at Alana Hagues. Otherwise, if you want to talk to me on Discord, I'm a Diving Falcons. So just put me a message or just ping me and I'll likely come running and for 2 seconds and maybe hide again. But yeah, I come in and out. But Twitter the best place and always happy to talk video games.
Right on. And Peter, your turn. What's your social media presence?
You can find me at I Have Fury on Twitter. I'm also I Have Fury on the boards that are dead. And if I ever do rip the boards. But I will, if I ever do join the Discord, it'll probably also be I Have Fury.
Okay, RIP the boards. We already did a moment of silence for Rhythm Encounter. Now a moment of silence for the RPG Fan boards. Okay, moment's done. Steph, your turn. How can listeners find you?
You guys will find me on Twitter or a lot of social media as at Dice SMS. If you ever want to talk to me personally, I post a lot of cool game stuff and art stuff. And usually I'm the one talking to you on social media, so we've probably talked a bit already.
That's quite. If you see a Facebook or Twitter post with a -st at the end, that means it's you're talking to our beloved social media maven, Steph.
Woo!
Do you prefer social media maven or social media mistress? Because the second one sounds a little S&M.
Yeah, you came up with mistress. That was weird.
Social media master.
Master?
Social media
Master.
debutante.
Debutante. Okay, sure.
Or how about maestra? Is that better?
No.
Okay, no, it isn't. All right, well, okay, Steph is our chief of social media, Alana's our chief of reviews, Peter is your chief of news, and I am your annoying podcast host. We are Retro Encounter.
Boo.
Thank you. Good night. Good luck.